What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's been a long time, probably, since we've done one of these. I was feeling a little sick the past couple of days, but we are back and ready to watch the markets again. So I'll tell you guys the story while we're looking at the charts real quick. But basically, it's my suspicion that even though I tested negative, it was probably you know what. Because over New Year's, I was on a trip with a bunch of friends, and when we got back, half of them tested positive. I tested negative, along with some of my friends, but it's my suspicion that we all got it on the trip over New Year's. It was actually supposed to be a ski trip, but the weather just was not having it, so that's my expectation. I'm pretty sure it was Omicron, but, who knows? I'll probably get an antibody test at some point, and I am feeling quite a bit better, so I'm feeling pretty much back to normal. Not 100%, probably closer to 95% back to normal, but good morning, everybody. Hopefully by the end of the week, I'll be completely back to 100%. That's the hope. But I will probably be ending this stream a little bit earlier than normal, probably at 10, just so that I don't stress my throat too much. So Stand Up says I should be wearing a mask during the live stream. Maybe I should. I think it's just me in this room, though. So good morning, Mike Steele, AMC, Stand Up, Sub-Zero, Silver, Auto Codes, MWS. Question Everything, and Manny C, Vivi Reddick, Worlza, and Heckler Coke. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. A lot of things are going down in the markets. First of all, the markets have been falling, as you can see. That is the first thing that is on this 5 things to know. CNBC usually does one of these 5 things to know before the stock market opens pretty much every day. But the NASDAQ, the S&P, have been falling the past couple of days. We haven't been watching them necessarily fall because we've been away, but good morning, Zach and Rich M. So the S&P, if you look over the past couple of days, has definitely been falling. It's not the best look, right? If you look at the yearly chart, it has been somewhat volatile over the past couple of months, right? And now we're on our way down potentially again. Who knows if we'll end up making new lows from where we've been. But there are a couple of other things that we need to look at. So first, NASDAQ's falling. We'll touch more on this Goldman Sachs update right here later. Powell hearing, we'll touch more on that. And in interesting news, Take-Two is buying mobile gamer Zynga. And we'll take a look at that. That's actually a referral stock that I think used to get given away on Robinhood quite a bit. But we'll take a peek at it real quick. ZNGA, I think, is the ticker symbol for it. And if you look at the one-day chart, you can see it absolutely skyrocketed on this news. It's doing pretty good ever since the announcement that they'd be acquired. So it went from around $6. Now they're around $9. So that's definitely been good for them. Pull back the SPY right here real quick. And Lululemon says their fourth quarter earnings and sales will likely be hurt due to Omicron. So we're going to take a look at Omicron and new potential variant that people have been talking about. I don't know if you guys have heard of this yet, but Deltacron. And fortunately, experts cast doubts over the likelihood that this is a real variant. They say it's likely due to lab contamination, the reason that they found a potential new variant that people have called Deltacron. So global experts are casting doubts over reports of a new possible COVID strain appearing to combine both the Delta and Omicron variants, dubbed Deltacron. Now, it's very interesting that they decided to name it Deltacron because typically all the previous variants, at least to my knowledge, have been just named after Greek letters. And we have the Greek alphabet right here. So, I mean, you guys probably remember the days when we had Alpha, Beta, Gamma. Delta was a big one. And then I guess we went through quite a few of them before we got to Omicron. I guess we didn't really... none of these were too severe, is my guess, because we never really heard about any of these since Delta was the one that we really heard about, and then Omicron. So, it's almost like they're just trying to create fear with these names where they mix up 2 letters and call it Deltacron. It seems kind of strange that they would do that, but it is interesting. And Getsum says, Deltacron, the new crypto to the moon. Is that a new crypto? I've not heard of it, but that sounds interesting. It would not surprise me to hear that is a new crypto. So basically, Deltacron, let's see if there was anything else that we had to talk about with this. Basically, they said it was likely the result of a lab processing error. And the reason that they're calling it Deltacron is because I think it has, let's see. Well, I read this a little bit this morning, but I think it had some mix of some aspects of Omicron and the Delta variant. So, okay, here we go. So they've called it Deltacron because of its Omicron-like genetic signatures within the Delta genome. So I don't know what they're doing calling it Deltacron, but that's what they're doing. So it is interesting to see. And I'll show you guys the CDC chart right here for case counts. And it's actually somewhat comical almost. It's fairly comical to see these case counts where they're at, because look at this. This is where we were back in January of 2021 when we were at peak cases. And then Delta came around and we had fairly high cases after that. But if you zoom out a little bit more and see where we're at now, you can actually see it's pretty significantly higher than where we were in the past. If you look at this red line, it's the moving average of new case counts. So it's quite a bit higher than it was a year ago, back in January over here. And it seems like there are many, many more people who are getting it now than ever in the past. So, I mean, maybe we're just testing a whole lot more. That doesn't seem too likely. It seems like we probably really do have a lot more cases. Probably me being one of them, right? Not anymore, but in last week, yes. So we can also look at the deaths and just see, like, fortunately, we're not at peak deaths, right? This is where we were back in January. Fortunately, it seems like the previous strains were a bit more severe than Omicron, although I will point out that the new cases, right, those aren't necessarily going to translate into deaths instantly. You can actually see, now that there are all these new cases, we are starting to trend up in deaths. We've actually beat out what happened with Delta. So there will be some lag time probably between new cases and deaths, because you don't die the day that you catch it. At least, most people don't, right? When you test positive, there's usually some lag time, right, for you to get sicker and sicker. And potentially we'll see this continue to rise. Hopefully it won't eclipse the peak that we saw back in January of 2021. It seems like January tends to be a pretty rough month for illnesses. So hopefully that won't be the case. But now on to the Goldman Sachs news. So interesting news from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs predicts the Fed will hike rates 4 times this year, more than previously expected. So in the past, the Fed has said that they would probably be raising rates 3 times this year. But Goldman Sachs experts are predicting that the Fed will raise rates 4 times this year. They're saying that Powell isn't telling us the truth. They think that he's going to raise rates 4 times. So it's possible that will happen. We are actually going to hear Powell talk later this week. I think tomorrow, actually, we'll hear Powell speak. But basically, right now, the interest rates are ranging between 0% and 0.25%. And they were doing this because the economy was getting hit hard while there were all these lockdowns. People needed money, and they figured they'd lower the interest rates and make money a little bit more accessible. Also, there is massive government debt. So we'll actually pull up the national debt real quick just to see what it looks like at the moment. But it's currently sitting very close to 30 trillion. So we've got 29 trillion, 707 billion, $134 million worth of national debt. So, if they were to raise interest rates, then that would actually not be great for the national debt, because that would be a whole lot more interest that has to be paid all the time, essentially, right? Every year. It would just be that much more money on $29 trillion worth of debt. So it would actually be probably a big hit to the economy. If people had to start paying all that extra interest. Now, obviously, whoever's lent out that money, whoever has cash in the bank, and whoever's lent out that money would love to see interest rates go up, because then they would be able to collect more interest on the cash that they have sitting around. But it seems unlikely that whatever interest rate hikes they do will actually be able to keep up with inflation. So either way, you'll probably be in the gutter, losing a little bit of money, losing a little bit of value over the next year, regardless of how much they raise rates. I really doubt that they'll be able to raise them enough to make it worth sitting on cash. There are probably going to be other assets like gold or silver that will outperform cash, just due to how much inflation we're expecting to see. So basically, Goldman Sachs is predicting 4 hikes. That would mean, typically, since they raise it by about 0.25 points each, we're probably, if Goldman Sachs is correct, we're probably going to end up with rates around 1 to 1.25%. So we'll see if that's actually the case. Hopefully not, right? I'd rather interest rates stay low. That typically ends up being better for stocks, right? And real estate. But, if they did raise rates, then it might be a better time to start buying up some real estate. So I honestly would not mind that too much. But the economic calendar, like I said, we have Powell talking later on Tuesday. So here are the events for the week. We've got Tuesday, Fed Chair Powell is testifying. And then on Wednesday, we're actually getting the core CPI month-over-month data. So we'll get another inflation report coming out then. And I'll pull up, first of all, on Tuesday what we're expecting. So Fed Chair Powell is testifying. Basically, he's just going to talk about monetary policy and whatnot. And, they call it testifying, but it's not really that big of a deal, right? He's just kind of discussing what's going on at the Fed and some of the Fed's future plans. So it's probably going to be something along the lines of, inflation isn't quite what we were expecting it to be. It's a little higher than we thought. We're probably going to continue tapering and raise interest rates a little bit. Maybe there at that meeting he'll announce 4 rate hikes instead of 3. We'll see, though. Obviously, they wouldn't start raising rates, most likely, until they finish tapering. But we'll see what happens with that. And then the CPI, I'll pull that up. We are expecting the next CPI to come out on January 12th. So on Wednesday at 8:30, we'll definitely want to be keeping an eye on this because, as you can see, since 2017, inflation's been relatively low. It's been about 0.2% per month. And lately, we've actually seen much higher inflation. Over the past year or so, we've seen inflation rates go up fairly significantly. So we'll see what happens if this continues on an uptrend or if we potentially move downwards inflation-wise. I doubt it. I think we're probably going to see likely a big spike up in inflation. I feel like even just, as a person, have noticed when I'm buying things, they seem to be quite a bit more expensive when I go to the store, when I go out to eat. It was shocking, actually. Yesterday, I went out to lunch, and it was $36 for some reason. I don't know why it was so expensive, but it was a buffet, but I mean, it was not that expensive last time I went. I just got the bill at the end, and I was shocked to see it was $36 for lunch. So, there definitely is some inflation out there. We're definitely probably going to see fairly high inflation, but we'll see what happens on Wednesday. That's when we're expecting that news to come out. And we've also got some Sundial news. So good news for Sundial. Very fortunate. Alcana Inc. shareholders approved the proposed plan of arrangement with over 90% of the votes in favor. So basically, if you guys are following Sundial stock, if you guys were interested in Sundial, if you hold Sundial, this is really good news. Sundial will be acquiring Alcana. So the new deal that they had formed just a couple of days before this vote was actually, they changed it a little bit. So originally, Alcana shares were going to be converted into Sundial shares. Each share of Alcana was going to turn into 10.69 shares of Sundial. Now, what they've done instead, they had to sweeten the pot a little bit, right? They had to get some people on board to get enough votes coming in, apparently. So they changed the deal a little bit. Now, instead of giving 10.69 Sundial shares to Alcana shareholders, the reason they likely had to change this deal, first of all, is because since the deal was announced, right, Sundial stock has unfortunately been getting pushed down for quite a while. So Sundial stock's been getting a little bit cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And the Alcana shareholders wanted potentially some cash instead of some Sundial shares, right? They're getting both. So what the Alcana shareholders will be getting now, instead of 10.69 Sundial shares, is 8.85 Sundial shares, as well as $1.50 in cash. So it's a slightly better deal because they're losing about 1.8 shares of Sundial, which equates at Sundial's current price to around $1.10, something like that. And they're getting $1.50. So they're getting essentially an extra 40 cents per share, somewhere around there. And all in all, not that bad of a deal for Alcana, right? Not the worst deal for Sundial either, right? It's only an extra 40 cents per share of Alcana that Sundial will be acquiring, so not the worst. And if that's what it takes to get the deal through, then I'm in support of it, right? I think that was a good move on Sundial's part. They had to announce that just 2 days, I think, before the vote because they needed people to actually vote in this merger agreement to get the required number of people voting to actually have it go through. Now, obviously, 90% of the votes were positive, but if they didn't get enough people voting at all, then the vote wouldn't have passed, even if they had very high vote for yes, like they did. So all in all, good stuff. I'm excited to see that Alcana will be merging with Sundial, and that Nova Cannabis, which is in majority owned by Alcana, will also be coming under Sundial's control. So Nova Cannabis currently has about 74, I believe, stores, cannabis stores, open in Canada. So they've got that, and that's going to get added essentially to Sundial's portfolio. Maybe Sundial will be able to start putting their products in those stores and whatnot. They'll have a majority ownership interest in it, so they'll pretty much be able to do whatever they wish with it. And Nova also has designs to have, I believe it's over 200 stores by the end of 2023. So that's their plan. That's their growth projection. We'll see if it actually comes through. Now that they have Sundial support, and Sundial has about 1.1 billion in cash, I believe. I believe that's what they were saying as of most recently here. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, so there we go. So Sundial's best-in-class balance sheet with approximately 1.1 billion in cash and investments. Okay, 1.1 billion in cash and investments. So Sundial will certainly be able to use that to help out Nova, help them expand their business, and it's definitely in Sundial's best interest at this point now that Sundial has a majority ownership interest in Nova. So Rich M makes a good point, and good morning, Abstract. Rich M makes a good point. He says, hit the like button. We can probably get up to 40 likes. We would only need about 13 more likes. That'd be much appreciated, guys, if we could do that. It helps get the stream out to a couple more people. Now, we've also got the Sundial short interest, which has ever so slightly increased, right? We were down to around 240 million, I believe, the last time we checked, maybe 250 million. But now we're at 266 million. So a couple more shorts have come into Sundial, and you can actually see that, yeah, over the past couple of days, Sundial's fallen a little bit, right? They had gotten up to 66 cents, and that's around the time that some more shorts started coming in, pushing Sundial down a bit. However, over the past couple of days, they have been recovering, right? They got as low as 56 cents, which is fairly significantly low. They almost got down to their all-time lows of 53 cents, which they had found support at several times. So I don't think we'll see them dip below 53 cents again, but obviously, I mean, anything is possible, but especially after this deal that just went through, I don't think we would actually see that happen. But in the pre-market this morning, fortunately, they were able to pump up to almost 63 cents. So we'll hopefully be able to maintain the gains that we've gotten in the pre-market and add to them throughout the day, even though it looks like the markets will be fairly red. If you look at the S&P, it's not been looking good over the past couple of days. In fact, let's see, when was this? This was the 4th. On the 4th, the S&P hit all-time highs, I believe it was. Let's see if it really was. Yeah, so all-time highs in the S&P on the 4th of January at $479.98, and since then has been trending down like we saw over the past 5 days. We've been closing lower every day, I believe, than where we closed the day before. So all in all, not great stuff for the S&P. The markets are definitely bleeding a little bit. It's not an ideal situation, but Sundial seems to be somewhat immune from this, right? Over the past couple of days, Sundial's actually been on the rise, so that is good to see. I'm not too worried about Sundial. It looks like they're fairly insulated from this market because they have their own catalysts going forward for them, right? They've got the merger that just went through. They do have share buybacks that can happen at some point this year that will have to happen sometime before November if they decide to actually do them. They've got a lot of good stuff. They also, we were just looking at, where did the short interest go? They've got quite a few shorts in there. They also have a lot of pump potential from meme stock enthusiasts, right? Way back when they were initially pumping, way back in early January, or late January and early February, it was on a meme stock rally, right? So they definitely have a lot of meme stock enthusiasts supporting them, and we could see that come to fruition at some point this year, especially, I think, if we start to see more concrete cannabis legalization news. I think that would be really beneficial for them. I think that meme stock enthusiasts would probably get back into them, and that's really all we would need to start sending Sundial into the stratosphere like we did earlier, earlier in 2021. I guess not earlier this year anymore. It's 2022 now. That's weird. But all in all, Sundial definitely has a lot going for it. It definitely has a lot of pump potential. I think it's been pushed down probably far, far too much. I mean, if you look at their balance sheet, let's see where we've got it right here. Back in this story that we were just looking at, the 1.1 billion in cash and investments gives them a par value of about 55 cents per share. So that's just what they're worth, just based off of the cash and investments they have. So essentially, if you're buying Sundial for 55 cents per share, you're not taking any risk necessarily. I mean, obviously, there's always risk in investing. They could lose all their cash. They could burn through it. Their investments could go south. But at the moment, at least, they have a par value of 55 cents per share, which essentially means that that's just what the company is worth book value-wise, right? They essentially have that much cash and investments on their balance sheet. So you're not buying into the future of the company necessarily. You're not even buying on hype or hope, right? That's just what it's worth at its base, 55 cents per share. That's what they have on their balance sheet. So when you're buying Sundial right now for 59 cents per share, or now it's 61 almost, you're really not taking too big of a risk, in my opinion at least, because they have 55 cents worth of value on their balance sheet. So I'm not too worried about Sundial. I think that they've got a really good balance sheet and a lot of catalysts that could blow them up. Obviously, they're not going bankrupt anytime soon, unless something changes really quickly. But I think they're a really good hold because of the pump potential mixed with the fact that they aren't going bankrupt. They've got a great balance sheet. So, and Silver says the best is yet to come. Silver says. So, yeah, I mean, potentially you're talking about with Sundial, but also, I mean, hopefully with a lot of stocks, right? With DWAC, I will briefly touch on this. It looks like DWAC ended up fading away. So we got a little leak, it looked like, on, I think this was Thursday, discussing the Truth Social release date. So I think that it was February 21st that was. And it looks like we have unfortunately faded away over the past couple of days. But all in all, that is good news to hear, right? So we'll have to wait, I guess, until Truth Social actually comes out to see what it's all about and how popular it is. But it would not surprise me when that time comes to actually see DWAC moving up significantly. If we do get a ton of downloads the first day, I mean, it would be similar to what we saw with Disney stock when Disney Plus came out, right? Everyone knew Disney Plus was coming out. Now let's see, when did Disney Plus actually come out? Now, everyone knew Disney Plus was coming out, and I remember watching this happen live, and I thought it was so ridiculous when it happened because everybody knew Disney Plus was coming out. So it happened November 12th of 2019. So let's look back at the past 5 years. And let's see, November of 2019. So you can't really see it on this chart, unfortunately, because it was so long ago. But basically, Disney rose about 15% on the day when Disney Plus came out, and they saw how many subscribers to Disney Plus signed up that day. So we could see something very similar with DWAC, even though everybody knows at this point that Truth Social is coming out February 21st, at least as was leaked by Apple's App Store listing. We could see on that day, if we do get a lot of new users signing up, we could definitely see DWAC moving up significantly on that day, just as we see a bunch of people signing up to download it and use it. And Fluxforce asks, Robman, was that you contacting me on Instagram? Wasn't really sure if it was you I was talking to. No, I have not contacted anyone on Instagram. So, yeah, guys, I'll just say it. I don't contact people. So, if you've been contacted by me, it wasn't me, actually. There's definitely a lot of scams out there, I'll say. I've noticed there's a ton of scams in the comments. I mean, they're brutal, right? They'll make accounts that look exactly like mine. They'll be called Rob Almazy. They'll have the same profile picture. I don't know how they're doing it. But there are people out there who are definitely scammers, and they'll say, contact me on WhatsApp, contact me on Telegram, but you don't want to listen to them. Don't listen. I won't ask you guys to contact me in any way, most likely. So, don't listen to me in the comments. Don't respond to anyone that looks like me in the comments. It should actually, if we're talking on my channel in the comments, it should have a little check mark or something next to my name to show that I'm the actual me. So don't respond to any weird comments that say to contact me in the comments or on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. I was unaware that there were people on Instagram. And Fluxforce will send me the email with the screenshots. Thank you, I appreciate that, because I would like to see who's out there doing it and then report the account. So that would be useful. Thank you very much. I would appreciate that. And let's see what else we've got. So that was the Disney news. It looks like DWAC is actually moving up right before the market opens, so that's a good sign. But we will briefly look at cryptos, because I had not been looking at cryptos for the past little bit, and they have fallen quite a ways. So Bitcoin is actually down to around 40,000 per coin. Ethereum down to around 3,000. I mean, let's take a look at this and just see how rapidly these things fell. So Bitcoin making new lows, it looks like, down to 40,600, new lows on this downtrend. They were at 46, I think, last we had checked live on the stream, and they've fallen quite a ways. So anyone holding crypto, a significant amount of it is in a bit of pain right now. It looks like there was quite a bit of volume on the 7th. A lot of people might have been adjusting their positions for Bitcoin. But Ethereum also, Ethereum has fallen pretty significantly, down to $3,000 per Ethereum token. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, they were at $3,800 last we checked, and they've fallen quite a bit. And, you know, we would have thought that on this Ethereum 2.0 news, that they would have been moving back up, potentially making new highs on this news. But maybe it's not. Maybe people who really understand the ins and outs of what this means are selling. Potentially that's what's going on, right? I don't understand enough about Ethereum 2.0 to say whether or not this should be bullish or bearish for the price. But Ethereum 2.0, I believe, is the movement from, if I'm not mistaken, a proof of work system to a proof of stake system. So I think that you'll be able to better stake your Ethereum or something like that, and it will potentially decrease the amount of new Ethereum being created. But I'm not too certain on it, right? I've heard about this Ethereum 2.0 news. I know it's a big deal for a lot of people, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Ethereum, right? It's down to below 3,000 now, actually. If we take a look at this, it's down to below 3,000. They just dipped seconds ago. Look at that. So they're down to $2,900, $2,968.68. So they're down about 4% over the past 24 hours. All in all, Ethereum is in pain. And we're going to briefly take a look at SAFEMOON. The SAFEMOON V2, right? Obviously, you guys don't want to get involved in SAFEMOON V1. There's a 100% tax on that at the moment, so you would just lose all of your money if you did end up buying into that. But SAFEMOON V2, so they were on a run-up, and over the past couple of days, I've noticed they have slowly descended a little bit. Fortunately, it's not a free fall, right? They haven't just crashed, but they have descended a little bit. They're down a touch from where they were. They're now currently trading at 0.2336 cents. So all in all, it could be worse, right? They're up 2.11% on the day, but it could be worse. And I will point out that this also happened on the back of SAFEMOON trending down ever so slightly on Google Trends, right? It was fairly high about a week ago, and we've slowly, if you take a look at this chart, slowly been trending down on it. So fewer people have been looking into SAFEMOON over the past couple of days. Potentially, it was very exciting when that news came out about the billboards in New York City. A lot of people might have bought in on that news. And, unfortunately, I think SAFEMOON is just still somewhat tough to buy at the moment. So a lot of people who might hear about it still might not quite be able to get in on it, right? They might not be tech savvy enough to figure out how to do the swap with Binance and or BNB coin and all that. So we will be posting a tutorial. I'll be posting a tutorial on that. Hopefully sometime this week. I'll try to get it out and show you guys how to actually buy SAFEMOON if anyone's interested. I'm not recommending that anyone buy it. Obviously, there's risk. No financial advice here. But it's something that I would like to post a tutorial on, just because I realize that there are probably a lot of people who don't know how to actually purchase it at the moment. So we've got the opening bell happening right now. So let's pull back up some of these charts. The S&P, it looks like, is turning a little green. Sundial up 1.29% on the day. It's the only green thing that we're watching. Although AMC getting a nice bounce off of 22 from the pre-market. It looks like we saw some green right before the open, but AMC at the moment is down about 3%. DWAC down 1.4%. The SPY down 0.7%. And Sundial is in the green, up 1.2%. So all in all, good stuff. Not too worried about Sundial. It looks like it really is a green gem in a sea of red today, at least. Hopefully it will remain that way, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. You know, for some reason, the short interest data isn't showing up. The short interest change for today, at least, isn't showing up on Ortex. It just is not applicable for some reason. But we can see how many shares are currently short and that it has actually risen over the past couple of days. So since the 4th, it's been on the rise a little bit, although it did decrease from the 6th to the 7th. So we'll see what happens with it. Hopefully not too many more shorts get into Sundial. You know, it would be nice, honestly, to be able to squeeze some shorts out at some point. But it would be even nicer if Sundial just continued rising now, right? I'd rather just see Sundial move up. That would be an ideal situation. But we'll see what happens. It looks like it's on the rise at the moment, at least. We're seeing a couple of green bars. We're up 1.7%. Hopefully that will continue. The S&P is actually turning even more red. It looks like we just make lows? Yeah, we made lows of the day at $462.23 on SPY. So we are moving down overall in the markets. We're moving down a little bit. But Sundial is still maintaining its green. And let's see, it's probably too early to pull up this market map. Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, you know, FinViz does not update this market map for the first 20 minutes or so. I think it would be really cool to see this snapshot as soon as the market opens, just to see where everything opened. But unfortunately, everything does tend to be gray in the morning, and for some reason, it just takes them a bit to update. But we'll see what happens if they maybe start doing that sooner at some point. And Abstract believes in Sundial and all the cryptos that he owns. Yeah, I think that you know, a lot of the cryptos, they're definitely getting hurt right now. We'll see if 2022 is going to be a good year for them. Unfortunately, Dogecoin is down 6.61%, down to 14 cents. Look at that. Is that a new all-time low? Yeah, so new all-time low since the pump. So look at that. Since it's been to 70 or I think it even got to 80 cents at its peak, it's never been this low before. Now it's trading at 14 cents per Dogecoin. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I know I don't know if anyone follows the Dogecoin millionaire. I've not really followed him too closely, but I know that he was at one point a millionaire from Dogecoin, and I think that recently he's fallen out of that millionaire status, unfortunately. But you know, that's understandable. I think he probably should have sold at the peak. He said he would sell when Dogecoin got to, I think, $10. So, you know, we'll see if that happens. We'll see if that happens. And Abstract sold all of his ADA and bought Doge with it on Saturday. So let's see, on Saturday, yeah, Doge was, it's not fallen all that much. It's only down about 6%, but yeah, that's too bad. Let's see, what's ADA doing actually? Is that in the green today? Yeah, it's down 6% also, so it doesn't really matter that much. Shiba Inu down about 8% on the day. Look at that. Shiba Inu, it looks like, is moving down also. So that's too bad to see. It looks like it also made all-time lows since its big pump up. So, you know, a lot of cryptos, I mean, it does not surprise me to see these cryptos making all-time lows since their big pumps, because Bitcoin is typically the leader of cryptos. Bitcoin's down 3.8% on the day, down 15% over the past week. So it does not surprise me to see that a lot of cryptos are hurting, especially now that Ethereum 2.0 is coming out and that it's down on what should supposedly be good news for Ethereum, right? You would have thought that that would be good news for Ethereum, their big update coming out. You know, I at least heard that it would probably move them up. That's what people were saying, at least. I didn't buy any on the news, but it looks like it's not been able to help them very much. It looks like they are, unfortunately, still just moving down with the rest of the cryptos. It seems like that did not make them immune. Granted, they're still up. Well, they're down over the past 3 months, but they're still up very significantly over the past year, right? They've just about tripled over the past year. So all in all, it could be much worse for Ethereum. It's not like these are crashing. It's not like they have crashed or anything like that over the past year, at least. Bitcoin is getting closer, right? Bitcoin a year ago was at 35.6K, so it hasn't tripled. It's maybe gone up about 10 or 11 or 12% over the past year or so. Still, I mean that's like what the market does typically, what the S&P does typically over the course of a year on average, but not nearly as good as what Ethereum's done, where it's tripled over the past year. So we'll see what happens with it. But it looks like pretty much every crypto is red, unfortunately. Pretty much every crypto, except for Near Protocol. So who knows what's going on with Near Protocol? I've not actually heard of this one before, but it looks like it's been going up over the past couple of months. Over the past year, it's gone up quite significantly, from $1.50 to $13.84. Well, that's interesting to see. But yeah, pretty much everything is red on the day except the stable coins. Those obviously are sitting pretty stable at $1. But yeah, there's very few. There's only one or two that are green on the day, unfortunately. So it looks like the S&P is continuing to move down. Pretty much everything is now even Sundial is red. So look at that. Sundial could not maintain its green status. Maybe it'll get back up above 60 cents. It looks like 60 did not really hold very well at all. We essentially just broke right through 60, almost like it was nothing. So we'll see. Maybe we'll return to it. We're at 59 right now, so we could very well return to 60 cents. That would be my hope, at least. But it looks like potentially, I mean, everything is falling right now. But it looks like potentially people are expecting a couple of things. They might be expecting bad testimony from Fed Chair Powell. That's happening tomorrow. So they might be expecting, kind of like what Goldman Sachs is saying, they might expect that he's going to come out and be a little bit more hawkish and start talking about rate hikes and tapering potentially even faster than before. Maybe because the CPI is also coming out on Wednesday. And I'll be very curious to see what this CPI reading is. I mean, I expect it to be fairly high, right? I would think that we would see much more inflation because I, at the very least, have noticed real price increases over the past couple of months, right? I've seen prices go up quite a bit. And, I don't know how it's maintained such low levels. I think that, honestly, prices should have been rising, or at least that the CPI data should have been going up by more than 1% each month, at least where I'm living. I mean, maybe this is an average, taken from across the country, and in some areas prices might be, increasing at a much slower rate than where I am. But I've noticed that around me, at least, prices have been going up quite a bit. So we'll see what happens. But I would expect to see something more akin to what we saw way back in the 80s, right? That's what I would be thinking, because it has been a pretty rough time inflation-wise, I've noticed. I mean, not just at the gas station, but just in the stores and at restaurants. Like I said, I spent $36 on lunch yesterday. It was kind of expensive, and I was not expecting it to be that much, but it looks like places are raising their prices, and that was, maybe, a 50% increase from what I was expecting. But we'll see what happens with it. I mean, maybe it'll be lower. Obviously, some people think that the CPI data is a little manipulated, right? They think that it's a little bit manipulated. They think that potentially it was built to represent a lower rate of inflation than what we actually see. And that's possible. Obviously, the government, if they're measuring the CPI, they don't want inflation to look like a massive problem. They don't want people to see really high inflation rates, because inflation is, at the end of the day, mostly caused by the addition of money to the money supply, right? It's mostly what's causing it, right? If the government is tapering and not printing a bunch more money, then we probably wouldn't see too big of an increase to inflation. In fact, we would probably see deflation because of technological advancements, right? Like automation. When you see something get automated, you no longer have to pay someone to do that job, and then you can produce more products for cheaper, essentially, right? Because you don't have to pay people to do it. You just get a robot. It's a one-time cost, and then you have to pay a little bit for electricity and whatnot, but you've automated that work away, and essentially you have more products for less labor going into it and less cost. So that allows you to lower prices because you can produce a lot more for the same price, And just the basic laws of supply and demand, if you have more supply of something and demand remains the same, then you'll probably see a decrease in price. So when government prints a ton of money and increases the amount of money that people have by sending out stimulus checks or welfare or whatever it is, that increases the demand that people have for goods because they have more money and they always want stuff, right? They always want things. So so when people have more money, there's more demand for these goods, and there's the same amount of supply. I mean, obviously, over time, as technology improves, there's more and more supply, but oftentimes, like what we saw in 2020 and 2021, where the government was printing so much money and handing it out, we're not going to see supply increase at the same rate as demand does, where there's so much money just being added to the system. So that actually allows for fairly significant inflation, and that's what we're dealing with right now, right? We're dealing with massive increase in demand because of all that money added to the system, and not necessarily, in fact, we're actually seeing a decrease in supply because of the supply chain issues, right? And as well as, a lot of people getting sick, not going to work, staying home and lockdowns and all that. So it's not the best situation. That's why we're seeing a lot of this inflation. But someone did say in the comments, let's see who said it. Auto Code says, check Tilray. And yeah, look at this. Tilray up. We'll pull it up over Sundial, which actually just turned green itself, up 17% on the day after their earnings call. So look at that. Let's pull up the Tilray earnings call. I have not taken a peek at this, but it seems like interesting news. So Tilray, also a cannabis company, for those of you who don't know. I think it's the biggest market cap cannabis company, I believe it is. Let's see what the market cap on it is. 3.5 billion for Tilray. So let's see. Let's see what we got on Tilray, if we can find that earnings call. Okay, this might be it. There we go. So this should be good. All right. So net revenue. Okay, so Tilray did very good on their earnings call. I mean, obviously, we could tell that from the increase in stock price that we're seeing of up 18%. I'm glad that I've been holding Tilray after this, right? You never know when you're just going to see a 20% boost in stock price on some good news. Now, obviously, this only undoes a decent amount of the damage that was done over the past couple of days when it was falling. But, this could be the beginning of their uptrend. We'll see. Hopefully it will be. But we'll pull up their earnings. So net revenue increase of about 20% to 155 million. Net income improved 95 million to 6 million from the prior year quarter. Okay. 70 million in cost synergies. All right. And leading medical cannabis company in Europe with about 20% market share in Germany. All right. So good stuff for Tilray. So Tilray's CEO said, our second quarter performance reflects notable success in building high quality and highly sought after cannabis and lifestyle CPG brands, which, coupled with our scale, operational excellence, and broad global distribution, enabled us to increase sales and maintain profitability despite sector-specific and macroeconomic headwinds. Yeah, so despite the increase in Omicron and potentially, it being a tough time for people going out and getting cannabis potentially, they've managed to increase their revenues and whatnot. So good stuff. He also said, looking at performance highlights across key markets, we maintained our number one cannabis market share position in Canada, despite market saturation and related competitive challenges, on the strength of our brands and adept pricing and market adjustments. Importantly, we believe these adjustments will enable us to aggressively recapture share when the market right sizes. In Germany, Europe's largest, most profitable medical cannabis market, our nearly 20% share leads the market. Okay, so they're big in Canada, all right. Okay, so I like the look of it. It looks like a very successful earnings call for them. Nice. I'm glad to see Tilray finally doing good, and it looks like Sundial's also. It looks like the S&P is doing pretty poorly, but we'll pull up Sundial here. It looks like DWAC, unfortunately, is falling as well. We'll pull up Sundial. And for the last couple minutes. There we go. So, all in all, Good stuff. I'm happy to see it. And we just need to quickly change some stuff here real quick. There we go. So, oh, there we go. Finally, it looks like this S&P map is updated. Very interesting stuff on this map. So, basically, it looks like all the big tech companies are moving down, and financial services, mostly banks, are actually moving up. So banks are having a pretty green day, and everything else is either somewhat mixed or is pretty darn red. If you look at Facebook, it's down 2.6%, Google down 1.8%, Amazon down 1.6%, Tesla down 3.5%, Microsoft down 1.5%, and Apple down 1%. Even some credit cards are seeing a little bit of pain. Visa's down, MasterCard, PayPal's down. So all in all, somewhat scary stuff to see these big tech companies suffering quite a bit. And, you know, you can actually see the S&P is down 1.2%, but the QQQ, measuring some of the tech companies, is down 1.8%. And Max Pierce asks, Rob, what's your thoughts on holding any PT stock till a $3 pump? Well, I've not heard of any PT, but I'll take a quick peek at it. I mean, it looks like we saw that back in early February, along with the meme stock rally. So is Neptune Wellness, is that a cannabis brand? Yeah, it is a cannabis stock. Okay, so I think we may have looked at this. You know, I mean, that it could work. It could work, right? I would probably prefer to hold Sundial, right? Sundial, I mean, I haven't looked too deeply into Neptune, but Sundial, like I said before, definitely has a good balance sheet. I'm not worried about them going bankrupt or anything like that, or having any horrible news, right? They seem to be expanding their business, and you know, even if we didn't see legalization, it's one that I wouldn't mind holding over the long term. Sundial. So Neptune, I don't know as much about. But, you know, we could definitely see it, right? If we see legalization this year, which I'm hoping and expecting that we will, then, yeah, we could definitely see Neptune get to $3 again, probably higher than that. That's where it got last time, and that was just on hopes. So hopefully we'll see it get up that high. But who knows? Who knows? Now, back to the QQQ. It looks like it is actually continuing this downtrend. So we were seeing some volatility on both the S&P as well as QQQ over the past couple of months. And we ended up, just today it looks like, making new lows on this volatility and this downtrend. So we're down almost 2% on the day. It's scary stuff to see. We really are suffering quite a bit with QQQ. Some of the smaller market cap stocks also are suffering. The VIX is way up, and the dollar's up a little bit. Obviously, the dollar has to rise a little bit to reflect this downtrend in pretty much everything, right? Gold and silver are down. Well, silver's up 0.1%. Gold is down 0.04%. But interesting to see that tech stocks are actually hurting the most. You know, typically tech stocks are a little bit more insulated, right? They tend to move up a little bit more. They're a bit more volatile, I will admit, but they are such large market caps at this point. I mean, if you look at the S&P map, the reason that their boxes are a lot bigger, the way they weigh this is the larger the box, the larger the market cap. So, you know, you can see these massive tech companies, they're absolutely huge compared to most of the other companies. I mean, they dwarf pretty much everything else on this chart, right? Some of the banks are pretty big too, but Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Tesla, those are the big ones. NVIDIA even is pretty big, but, you know, it's scary to see so much money just evaporate, right? When Apple goes down 1%, that's like $30 billion that just disappears from people's wallets, and that's down 1%, right? Let's pull up Apple. And it's been falling away. So it's actually down. It had a $3 trillion market cap at one point, and it's actually down 7.5%. So almost $210 billion of value has just evaporated from Apple over the past couple of days. And that's just Apple. It's not even all the tech companies. I mean, let's pull up Apple's market cap real quick just to see what it's at the moment. And Max Pierce, Rob, I had to sell off all shares of NAKD last week. It just keeps tanking. Yeah, NAKD has definitely been suffering quite a bit. Let's pull it up over AMC right here real quick. But yeah, it's down 7.8% today. You know, unfortunately, everything is bleeding at the moment. NAKD more than most things. I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to keep holding it. I'm going to wait until some of their earnings calls come out. And hopefully, you know, if their earnings calls are as bullish as they're saying they will be, right? If they have an increase in revenue that's in line with what they've expected, then, you know, it should, in theory, move up the stock price. But we'll see what happens with it. We'll see what happens with it. I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, yeah, it is getting pushed down quite a bit. But Apple's market cap, $2.8 trillion. So yeah, they were a little bit above. They were a little bit above $3 trillion, and now they're at 2.8. So they have shaved off just about $200 billion worth of market cap. I mean, that's $200 billion worth of people's money. That's just, it's gone. So scary to see that can happen so quickly. Now, Tilray is taking a little bit of a breather. It was up at 784, and that was actually up, I think, 21% on the day when I was looking at the percentage. But look at that beautiful gain from the close. It was up 21, almost 22%. So close. Maybe it was 22%. Yeah, I think it was. Look at that. It was up 22% on the day. Now it's up 19.5%. So good stuff. I'm very happy to see Tilray doing good today. You know, it's exactly what Tilray deserves. Honestly, Tilray should have been doing good long before now. So I think, honestly, their last earnings call, they should have been doing pretty good. But we'll see what happens with them. I'm just happy that they're green today. Hopefully, this doesn't just erase itself, right? Hopefully, it doesn't erase itself. So Sundial is now red on the day. It looks like a lot of the cannabis money might be flowing into Tilray at the moment. Sundial's down 0.8%, not as much as the S&P. You know, which is odd. Typically, when the S&P is down, Sundial is down a bit more. And Silver says, sit on cash, wait out the bloodbath, then move fast. That's a potential move. You know, it's tough, though. It's tough to time it exactly like that. I admit, I prefer to just hold these things, you know, to hold things that I believe in. I'd rather not miss out and, you know, play weird games sometimes. Sometimes it's a bad idea to be jumping in and out of stuff. I'd rather just be holding stuff that I really believe in that has big pump potential, because you never know what's going to set it off, what day you're going to wake up and it's going to be up 50% and you'll wish you bought. And maybe you do buy in that day, right? And maybe that was a fake out and then it's down and then you sell and you've lost 50% or whatever. So it's a tough situation, you know, with stuff like Sundial and Tilray and NAKD. I'd rather just hold on to them. Zach Taylor, so you're holding DWAC? Well, I'll show you. I believe I've discussed my DWAC position a couple of times, but I will show you. My DWAC position right here is not actually holding the stock. It's selling the put options on it. So it's essentially saying that I'll buy the stock if it's below $50 per share. So currently I have 2 sold, and I might consider selling some more of them, but let's find the right camera view for this. But basically, these puts that let me turn on Do Not Disturb real quick. These puts right here, the $50 puts, I sold for, let's see where it is, $34.25. And now they're valued a little bit lower. So it's essentially shorting these puts. So I'm up about $300 on the position. My max gain is $6,500. So honestly, not the largest potential max gain, but it's a very safe position because I will make the full profit as long as DWAC is above $50 per share. Now, once this turns into TMTG, you know, I'd like to sell some more puts and whatnot on it, potentially at a closer strike date and get my hands on it. I thought you were out other than options. That's right. Yeah, so I am in the options. That's my plan with DWAC. I like, you know, unfortunately, it did not have the momentum that I was hoping for when we saw this big pump up. I was hoping that we would continue moving up on it, but it does seem to have a really good support at $50. So I think it's a pretty solid trade, betting that it won't be below 50. And honestly, even if it is below 50, I'm making money until it gets to 15. So I don't know what odds people think it has of actually getting to 15. I think it's virtually zero. I don't think it's going down to 15. So basically a guarantee over the next year, which is as long as those put options last for until January of 2023. Basically a guaranteed profit, in my opinion, right? I would like to sell another one of those puts, honestly. If we did see it dip down a little bit, that's when I'd like to sell it. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's what I'm doing with DWAC. I really like the options, honestly. Silver doesn't trust options. Yeah, I mean, options, you can definitely lose a lot of money on options. It's definitely a possibility. I think that you just have to look for the right opportunities, right? Like this one. I mean, obviously, people can play games with options and manipulate the price a little bit if the implied volatility changes. But if I'm just happy holding that thing until expiration, then as long as DWAC's price doesn't move down that much, I'm not too worried about the short-term fluctuations in the options price. So I'm happy just holding it. Obviously, I'll miss out on some upside if we ended up going above $100 over the next year. I'll miss out on some upside, but I'd rather at this point just take a essentially guaranteed almost doubling of my money. So that's my plan with it, at least, right? Because it only cost me about $3,000 of cash collateral is basically being held against those options contracts, and the max profit is like $6,600 or something like that. So it's essentially doubling the money over the course of the next year. So I'll probably enter another one of those options contracts fairly soon if we do end up dipping somewhat significantly on DWAC. So yeah. The kid who killed himself from the options game. Yeah, some kid did. He saw that he was in a ton of debt or something, which, obviously I think you could declare bankruptcy in that situation. But I think it was also just a glitch. I don't remember exactly what the story was, but I think it was a bit of a glitch. I don't think he actually owed that much money. Maybe he did. But, and Jordan Isabel Peterson, you sound like you're about to leave, Rob. Peace, brother. That is the plan, right? I said at the beginning of the stream, we'd probably just be going until 10 today, just to give my throat a little bit of extra recovery time, right? Hopefully tomorrow we'll be back to the hour-and-a-half streams, but that is the plan. Jordan's calling it out early, 2 minutes early. We'll stick around and just see what's going on. It looks like Tilray's actually dipping, unfortunately, and SPY is continuing to dip. I mean, we've been red pretty much every bar. There's been like maybe 8 or so green bars, maybe 10 during this whole time. So we've just been moving down somewhat consistently in a straight line with the S&P, which is unfortunate. So we'll see what happens. Silver says honey for the throat. Yeah. I've been drinking a lot of tea lately, so a lot of warm beverages, taking a lot of vitamin C and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's. I will say it's not been the worst, right? It's not been the worst. I'm feeling pretty darn good today, so that's what I'm very happy about that. But yeah, still just a little bit of stress in my throat, unfortunately. But I think that should be gone hopefully tomorrow. It's definitely gotten a lot better over the past couple of days, but it is just about 10. So we will be wrapping it up. It's really good to be back, guys. I'm super glad that that we are back and that I added a mute button on this thing. Look at this. I can cough all I want now, and I can just mute it. So that's very cool. Hopefully it's actually been working. I just set it up this morning, but the mute button, hopefully that worked. Hopefully you guys didn't hear me coughing during the stream. But other than that, guys, have a great day. It looks like the markets are red, but Tilray, if anyone was holding that, it's very green today. So good stuff. It looks like Sundial, unfortunately, turned a little red. That's too bad. But looks like we're ending the stream around 10 today. So we'll see you tomorrow. And look out for potentially another video coming out today. I think that I need to do a little update on Sundial because I did miss. I never made one on the Alcana acquisition, even though that's a little old news. We will probably be covering it. So other than that, guys, have a great one. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9. So I'll see you then. Bye.